that, you know, we turn this over to the building inspector, and we gotta be able to say, okay, these windows are gonna be the vinyl clad, these are gonna be wood, these are gonna be so and so. So we need pictures of all of the, the facades where the windows are in fact being replaced.
Okay,
All right?
we can do that.
Cool.
Excellent. So the next meeting is in July.
Alrighty. Can look that up somewhere. July what, the,
Second
12th.
Wednesday.
second Wednesday, yeah.
July
Okay.
12th.
Okay?
Yeah,
Cool.
so we'll get everything in order and we'll see you guys then.
Very
Also,
good.
you can access our agendas, like our meeting schedule and
Okay.
agendas. All of that is on the village website in addition to this manual for the design standards. That's in PDF form on the village's website.
Great.
So if you
I'll
have any
look at
questions,
those.
you can reference that or email us.
I will do. Alrighty, well, thank you very much.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you guys.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, guys, 126 Main.
Oh, Karen, sorry, I couldn't borrow this for you. No.
I'm just going to tell Judy that we're one away from her.
And the boards.
Oh, well, most of it's from the last time, but in case anybody wanted to look at maps again, I brought the ones.
So Suki's our last one. She's Furnace Street.
She's 3 Furnace Street,
Oh, okay.
not 7.
Okay. Just to clean up some things from the last meeting. One of the things is the mayor has asked that we collect an escrow fee because of possible professional services that we would have to retain. So, anybody have a certain dollar amount in mind?
You ask me?
I'm asking the board.
Oh, I didn't know that we were being asked for escrow, or we were asking for escrow.
And also, I talked with Matt,
Francisco?
yeah, and right now, he doesn't have an application, but I would assume that it would be one escrow account for whatever board you come before. I don't see any reason to have separate escrow accounts between us and the planning board. So, I asked him how much he normally requests, and he said $1,000.
But that's just on the site plan.
I know, but he doesn't have any application yet.
Yeah, so he doesn't know his
Right.
responsibility.
So I would say $1,000, and then if he determines that he needs additional funds, then ask for additional escrow funds.
Can I ask, because I'm new to this whole process, what professional services would be needed? And also, who decides when the money is dispersed and, you know, is it agreed upon or just someone on the board says, we'll spend this money, or how does that
Well,
work?
the first thing, and this is what sort of raised the issue, is that the mayor feels that the applicants, if we have to consult the village attorney, the village gets charged for it. So for any consultation with the village attorney, ultimately, the applicant would wind up paying for that. That would come out of the escrow account.
It could be the village attorney, it could be outside counsel, it could be additional engineering, look-see on some aspect of the application.
But before you did that, you would ask me, is this okay, or? You know what I mean? Like, am I agreeing to give you $1,000 and you're spending it as you want to, or
Yeah.
is that pretty much?
Did we tell you about the trip to Barbados?
Right.
No.
No, I mean,
Just asking because I
an
don't
escrow
know.
account is a deposit.
Right.
And it is drawn against. And if it is not completely used, it is returned to the client. As the bills come in, those are submitted to the client, so that the applicant knows exactly what we're spending the money on.
Okay, but I'm not
But-
sort of asked before you spend it. That's my
No,
question.
no, and I think that, just out of courtesy, we would probably tell you that, if we were planning on using those funds. We're kind of struggling ourselves because we hadn't been doing this before, but now we have to, so we're learning as we're going along. I guess my question to the other board members is that we already got an engineering report from the applicant. Do we feel that any more engineering analysis needs to be done?
I don't know, it depends, I haven't seen that report, because I was absent at that meeting.
Do you have a copy of that?
I think I have a copy of it.
I do. I have a copy of this. You know, I'm charging you though
Okay.
after 6 copies.
All right.
So basically, we'll pay $975 in
That's right.
escrow.
Well, hang on.
Oh, if you already have it,
I have a copy.
I'll just borrow.
We may have it in the files here.
I'll just borrow.
I'll make you a copy before we
Wait. Then we will have, Karen will have to charge us. There, 126 Main Street.
I do have an extra copy if you can't lay your hands. I was so sad when you bumped the copies up from 3 to 6. I thought you were the one reasonable board who only asked for 3 copies.
And this is also other correspondence. Okay, so, then the other question had to do with, because we don't have an official application yet, we haven't voted on secret, but since you are in fact requesting demolition, it will also probably be a type 1 secret category, which means that at a minimum we will be filling out the short form, or is it the long form?
Type
Oh,
one is a long.
long form, okay.
No, I have seen this.
You what?
I have seen that. I thought I had not seen that, but I have seen that. I thought it was a more complicated.
Okay, so I guess, the one question, because again, we're also dealing with existing conditions. One of the things that the board needs to think about is that, is there additional structural analysis that we feel needs to be done? And I think that since you already have retained a professional engineer, you can probably ask them for any additional probing or analysis that we feel.
Yeah, but I mean, part of the use of an escrow might be the use of another engineer to corroborate the first engineer's recommendations.
So, but getting back to the secret type 1, one of the questions that Sean had was exactly what it is that we need to see as far as replacement, because we'd like to see, we don't want to get into a segmentation, is that correct? Segmentation on the secret, because then the secret police will come and get us.
And I think one of the important things to understand in the State Environmental Quality Review Act is one doesn't just look at one proposal, one looks at reasonable alternatives. And so it's not just enough to say, well, this is what we're proposing, that's the only thing we're going to review. You know, we have to look at what alternatives are reasonable on this site. And reasonable does not necessarily mean the least expensive. It can mean things that are realistic in terms of a market economy.
And that's your review of the secret room, because we'll complete the long EAF, and then you'll review that based on
Yeah,
alternatives.
well, depending upon whether it's a long EAF or an EAS, we don't know at this point, because there's a whole process that one goes through in secret. And depending upon what you're proposing, and it goes to the planning board, or if it goes to the ZBA, et cetera, it can be a coordinated review, and depending upon who is the lead agency, et cetera, so that there can't be, you know, multiple reviews.
Right. We will be going to all boards, but we have to go to the ZBA too, so, yeah, and I know we have to do the long EAL with Depot Square, so.
Okay.
I'm familiar with that, and so it is our intention to get the applications into planning and zoning fairly soon, and I actually submitted today, the application for the new building to your board, so that it can be a part of a coordinated
Sure,
or
okay.
non-segmented
Right.
review.
Okay, I guess are there other questions that we have before we look at the next steps?
No, I'm ready to look at the next steps.
Okay. As far as the escrow, you've done this before, so you know, I mean, would you give it to the village clerk
Yeah.
and they put it in the secret escrow bank account?
Well,
Secret
it's a
drawer?
good question, because we're waiting for a return one. So it was interesting, with Depot Square, we had planning and zoning both required a $500 escrow. But what they did is they didn't draw from it. I thought they would do that, but each month we were sent the attorney's bill and the owner paid it directly, and then we are to be reimbursed the escrow, I think because typically the attorney bills exceed the escrow quite often, so I think they probably hold that as a bit of insurance, but also to cover advertising fees and
Oh,
things.
yeah.
I think if it's a project where perhaps the attorney fees are minimal, they might take them out of the escrow, but that's what happened in that case, so
Okay.
I think that's kind of typical for now.
Right,
but-
no
Yeah,
more.
very often they'll hold on to the escrow for quite some time afterwards, sort of as, almost like a security deposit.
Right.
And because Depot Square was different because of existing buildings that are being modified, as opposed to what you're proposing here, don't count that it just might be a long form EAF, it could be more. You know, you just don't know what's right.
Yeah.
Right, now, I know that I saw a flurry of emails about removing part of the existing siding. And so I guess let's discuss that. I mean, is that, I think that, and without sort of making any judgment at this particular point, I think that we're probably willing to lose certain portions of it, but there may be portions that we would like to see retained. And so I think that's why we're looking to see some of the siding removed, to see exactly what is underneath it.
Well, what do you have there now? You have vinyl on the building? So, I mean, vinyl can basically be pulled back or peeled back in a way to expose it and to have it looked at, et cetera. You don't necessarily have to remove it completely and leave a big gap.
Right, so we had removed some portions before the site.
Yeah, they're
We saw
very
that.
small
And
portions.
so we have styrofoam insulation under all of the vinyl siding over here. There's have some in the back
Okay.
and the front. So, you know, as I expressed in the response to the emails or concerns, and I mean Kathleen's first email, it may have been stated incorrectly, but she did ask for removal of the siding on the entire south and east facade. So that was why I reacted the way I did. I thought, you know, we don't want to leave the building exposed. We don't know what we're going to find, and we anticipate a lengthy approval process in that way. So, you know, we could certainly go and remove some portions, but we had also suggested, you know, if your goal, I guess, what is your goal in terms of removing it? Like, what do you hope to see? Like, what might have been original window openings, or?
Well, I think that what we're looking is to see the condition and the status of what is still there, and how much of an effort are we going to ask you to do in order to save whatever we feel is worth saving. I mean, you're talking about a building that goes back to the early 1800s, and we are, you know, at least the bakery portion of it. And so, it's a question of seeing the condition so that we can make a judgment as to, you know, whether or not what, you know, we feel deserves to be saved.
And also looking at things like ghosts of previous additions and changes to it.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
certainly there's a question as to which facade had the original entrance, as Kathleen seems to be very convinced that it was the facade facing the parking lot as opposed to the facade that faces Main Street.
So is it possible for you to see what, I guess part of my concern, well, first of all, the insulation that's outside of the building is the only insulation there. And I'll tell you what I paid in oil heat each month this winter with the heat turned off, you know, so is it possible to go from the inside of the building and see what you want to see as opposed to ripping things off the outside and then it's a
Well,
worse eyesore, you
yeah.
know? I don't want to create ill will with my neighbors by starting to rip this thing up and it looks worse than it is, and, you know, is it possible for us to take the, you know, on the walls, that will be renovated no matter what I
Yeah.
can do here. Can we see what you want to see from inside?
Well,
Assuming there's nothing under the interior walls.
Yeah, I think that basically what we're talking about are the exterior walls, and certainly I don't see any reason why we can't establish where the entrance was from the inside,
Right.
because that will expose the framing.
Right.
But I guess, you know, the other thing that we're concerned about, that, you know, I mean, so far, all we saw, at least as far as the front part that we're interested in, is maybe about 6 feet and that much of the siding. I would be curious to see how much more, you know, is that siding the same on the front? Or was it removed when they took down the vinyl, or when they were putting on the vinyl siding? So I think that certainly for our purposes, and people can correct me if they disagree, not correct me, but disagree with me. I would like to see more of what is in fact under the vinyl siding on those two facades. It doesn't have to be the entire facade, but certainly more. And I think, you know, taking down the sheetrock on the inside would help us take a look and see what kind of.
Yeah, and we have a bit of plaster. So we applied today for a permit to demolish the interior finishes.
Okay.
So that we can expose the framing on the inside, so in hopes that it would indicate where originally the door openings were. So in terms of the removal of siding, once you look and see what's there, can we put it back up to protect the
Yes.
building in the meantime?
Yes.
Totally.
Right, and
It's gonna be
then
hard.
we can have another.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
Well, it doesn't have to, I mean, when you're putting it back,
That's
it's
what
not
they're
like.
hoping.
No, I'm
It
saying
won't
it's just
ever
gonna be
go
hard
back up,
because
right.
that's not what we want to see someday.
Oh, hard emotional.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess once we see the elements in the escrows paid, because no picky, no wanted, is there anything else that we would like to see or have done?
Wait, let me.
I have just one question. Before you closed on the building, did you have an engineer's report on it prior to that?
You know, I had an inspection done, and my engineer looked at the building before I bought it with the ideas of how I wanted to renovate it. So not as thorough a report as the one that he prepared recently. But honestly, and you've asked me this in another way before, my understanding of the historic district was different than what it actually means. So I thought my options for renovating this building were greater than I think they are. You know, I looked at the historical review as, are you doing something that is aesthetically the same as what's in the building? That's not, or the village, that's not what you're looking for. You're looking to actually preserve. So that wasn't my understanding coming into this. And pretty much Mike said to me, you know, I don't think this building can take what you want to do with it. And honestly, I bought that piece of property because I'd like to run my shop on Main Street. I didn't buy that building. You know, that was not my, if you understand what I'm saying. I bought the property, not the building. The building was not, so in other words, it wasn't important to me if the building was sound, because I guess I was assuming I could rebuild it.
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's
think.
my lack of understanding about
Right.
what
Well,
goes on.
and in all fairness, we typically do not get a lot of demolition applications, certain notable exceptions. And so, you know, we're talking about something which, in our normal course of business, we don't deal with. But our job is, in fact, to protect the
Mhm.
fabric, the historic fabric. Now, obviously, this building, or at least parts of it, go back quite a ways. And so, unfortunately, that's what you want out there.
Yeah, which is, you know, I'm learning as we go along, and I'm sure that we'll be able to come to something great,
Right.
you know, and we'll just keep working on it.
All right, so, I guess, is there anything else that we want to ask of the applicant at this particular point?
I don't think we can, go much further without, knowing what's on the siding or, plaster work. So I think that would be our next course of business.
Okay. I guess,
Which is a big
the
job.
other thing is that as far as the demolition of the interior finishes and a portion of the exterior facade, do we want to have another site visit to take a look at that as a board?
After it's complete?
After the interior demolition, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't think we'd be able to get any sense of what the, where original
All right, so
windows
then,
and doors.
so then, are we looking to getting together with the applicant again on a workshop, for a workshop on the 28th?
Will the demolition be complete before the 28th?
Yes, well,
Okay.
If we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Then are you proposing that we meet at the site on the 28th, or that we meet?
Well, the 28th is Wednesday, and I will be in New York. And it would have to be on the weekend again.
That's okay.
The weekend before the 28th, be ready so you can look at things.
And then we can discuss it on the 28th.
That weekend I'm not. The 24th and 25th, I'm not gonna be here.
So
Going
if
to a wedding.
If it helps, I can always meet with you during the
Yeah.
week. I mean, I'm.
If you're willing to do that.
Oh, I can too, I
Yeah.
live here. and I'm
Okay,
very
well, I'm just on High
close
Street, so I can
to-
go around the corner and meet one of you.
So if everyone can't meet together, we can do individual.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I could meet on the 23rd or on Friday the 23rd or Saturday the 24th.
24th is not great for me unless it's early.
I can do
in
the
morning.
23rd.
I could do the 23rd as well, and I probably speak that Kathleen could as well, but then I'm trying to remember which other separate meeting.
But well, what is the 24th?
That's Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
And I can be there anytime, right?
Right, I don't have to be there.
All right. Probably Sunday is better for me, than Sunday morning.
So should we kind of arrange this via email? Because I do
Yeah.
have to check my
Oh, yeah.
calendar. in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And we'll want to loop Kathleen in as well.
Okay. And
Plus
so
we-
we'll put them on the agenda for the 28th?
For the workshop on the 28th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the site visit the 6th, the 23rd and the 25th.
Yeah, that would be much
Let's-
better.
Okay.
So I just have a question, just going back to, again, the professional services. Obviously, the village attorney, that's understood, state consults with all the different boards. And you mentioned possibly another engineer to corroborate our engineer's report. Is that because you think it's not reliable, or you
Well,
need to have your own
My
independent?
my personal opinion would be if there's something which I saw in the report that I had questions about, then, I'd be willing to either ask Michael or else get another engineer just to corroborate. And again, it goes back to the issue that, once the building is torn down, it's gone. We can sort of recreate it to some extent, but then it's not historic fabric, it's new fabric. And that's what the issue that we have to deal with. We have to be pretty confident that it really doesn't make that much sense in order to preserve it. But, to answer your question directly, it would be probably if we had questions, which, I don't think that anybody here doubts Michael, but we may want to have a second opinion. Don't want to get into major surgery without a second opinion.
So is there an engineering company that the village typically uses for situations like
Not
that?
that I
Or do you randomly pick somebody? I mean, how do we know they're a reputable firm?
Well, I think it's up to us to decide whether we find him reputable.
Right, yeah, no, I thought this might have come up before and the village might actually have like a go-to.
There are a number of reputable engineering firms in the region.
Of course, no, I just wondered if the village. had
Well,
one.
we've got this very expensive engineer
Yeah.
downtown.
Well, that's, I mean,
Manhattan.
right.
No, I mean.
I think that's
I'm-
reasonable just to know,
Yeah.
what that could lead to, is that.
Yeah. As soon as we find out, we'll let you know. We're
Okay.
stumbling
Thank
along
you.
ourselves.
Thank you, that's all I need to know. Okay.
All right?
Okay, so the plan is we'll coordinate a site visit on or around the weekend of the 23rd, 24th, 25th. most likely 2 days, and then we'll see you again on the 28th.
Right.
And on the 28th, we will be discussing our findings from the site visit.
And what we need to do is start making, having discussions amongst ourselves as far as what we think, what we can allow.
Okay.
And also in terms of the ASPRO talking to the planning board, talking to the ZBA, because there probably would be only one ASPRO.
Right.
That all the boards would look towards.
Okay, so we'll get that in and that's and in terms of, our intent is to get the planning and zoning underway, but it's, what we're asking for is somewhat dependent on what happens with this application. So we can start that process, and I believe they could enter into workshop sessions similar to what you've done, so that it's not an official meeting, but we can present the project to them and
Right.
then revise it as needed based on our outcome with your board.
Yeah, I think the way I understand the process, my feeling is that I'd rather have the planning board be the lead agency, because, there's paperwork that you have to fill out when you do this, and we're not familiar with that, and whereas they should be. But the thing is that until they have a formal application, I would assume that we are going to be the lead agency, because we're the only agency.
Okay.
It's very easy to be the lead when you're the only game in town. So,
Okay. And they could act on that even if the application before them isn't complete. Like if we need the SECRA to move forward in order for you to make a decision, but they can't really approve a site plan until we kind of know what.
No, they can't, you can't do it seriatim. If you're doing a coordinated review, you all have to come to a common decision on a plan. You can't say that, that I'll look at this only in terms of setbacks, and you can do, that they have to look at all the impacts.
Right, but what I'm saying is, right now, we have an application to demolish, and so what we'd be submitting to the planning board is the site plan for our proposed new building. But if we're not allowed to demolish the structure, then we're stepping back and rethinking things. So does that mean a new application to the planning board? Yeah. Because I understand the need for coordinated review by all boards, but the application could change significantly.
We would
depending on-
probably be looking at a broader range of alternatives than the planning board would be looking at, or the ZBA. Because we're talking about design alternatives which might have total demolition, partial demolition, no demolition, for example.
All right. But the thing is that I think that whether the building is demolished, not really, planning board doesn't care. What planning board cares is what is going to be there when project's finished. So in reality, we would be the lead agency because realistically, we're concerned about the demolition, and until you find out whether the building can be demolished, you need to know whether what you're going to build anew is contingent on what we're going to allow you to demolish.
Correct. As our- as our
We are probably
ordinances.
looking at a broader range of issues than the planning board is in this
Right.
case. Where normally I would say, yes, the planning board should be lead. I'm not entirely certain that would be the case in this case.
Right. So I think that probably you were correct in coming to us first, because ultimately what you present to the planning board is going to be contingent on what we will allow you to do.
And zoning as well, because of what our setbacks are.
Well, the zoning, I won't speak for the zoning.
I mean, I
It's too late
feel
in
like
the
the
night.
zoning is more of a minor in the big scheme of things,
Right.
because we have the benefit of the size of the lot, there are minimal variances. However, certainly the placement of whatever the final structure is does affect our request or not, so. Okay, so I know it's late, but because also at the last meeting, there was quite a bit of question about and wanting to see, what we are proposing, and that is going to come hand in hand with our proposal, our proposal to demolish. So is that something you'd like to look at tonight? We have submitted the application today. We know we're not here to review that in workshop, but as part of our demo permit, because it's relative.
If you have copies, I would assume everybody not look at it tonight, but certainly be interested in looking at it so that we can discuss it in the workshops.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And you're not the last
Yeah,
manager.
we've got another application.
Okay, oh, sorry. Okay, so
How about
that's
if we
a
take
second
four?
set of 6 because you
Well,
have
how about
your
if we
whole
take
lot.
4, and you can hang on to that. And this is just for information purposes. So I'll take one.
Can we leave one in the mailbox for Kathleen as well?
That's true. Where's the one with the
Put a side out of one.
That'll go into the official folder.
Cool.
I only have 4 of these, but this goes
Oh.
with
Well, that's only, well, okay.
this.
Yeah, we'd like you to
But
have.
I'll give you more, what you need on the 28th.
It was only,
Oh, that's.
okay.
Yeah, we're all set.
That's cool. And we'll have one.
So,
Today is 6/14.
so when we come on the 28th, because now we have, as of today, submitted our application for the new structure. So I think in addition to reviewing what we're going to expose on the existing building, if we could also plan to present these plans in a more formal way at that meeting, side by side.
Yes.
Along with a site plan. so
Yes,
you-
I mean, certainly, certainly, there's no reason why we can't review it in the workshop session. The official submission will happen 2 weeks later, where the process starts. So I think that's certainly, unless there are certain questions or issues.
Okay. And what you didn't all get, the cover letter that went with that application, but just to say it to everyone, is that we recognize that these plans that we're submitting, to give you a sense of what our concept is for a new structure, but clearly because we haven't had any feedback from the board, we understand that any new building would be accompanied with a lot more details, but we're not quite prepared to do that until we get some more feedback. And certainly, we have a lot of flexibility in, working with the board as far as what you would expect to see based on what's there, scale, massing. So this is obviously preliminary.
Right. Agreed.
Great, so see you on the 24th, see you before the 28th.
Before the 28th and then on the 28th.
Yeah, we'll
Just for the
we'll
file,
circulate
or-
emails
I'm
for
going.
time.
Okay, so I can just hang on to this,
You can-
great, to review it, okay, great.
Thank
You'll be
you.
Thank
tested
you.
before you.
You know, tonight.
In the file for compliance, you should do first.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a good night.
Okay.
There's only 5 minutes behind.
I know, that's.
Particularly
all
considering that we
surprised.
scheduled 2 separate applicants for 9/20.
Wow.
We're still only 5 minutes
Very,
behind.
very good.
All right, so here we have,
She made sure, I saw her, I watched her as she was making the schedule.
Weren't you guys working on the grant together?
The DRI.
Wasn't that you and James and I think?
Yeah, it was me, yeah, mostly me and Kathleen.
Yeah, I know she hardly slept, so you must
Yeah.
be.
Did you hear them felling trees again?
Oh, sorry, yes, now I understand that that you accept 11 by 17, that's fine. So we can do that. That's it. So, we can make this happen.
Yeah.
All right, so this is what James had worked out with the client, or, well, the client had expressed to James what he would like, and so I'm here to just listen and be a messenger because I was not part of this process. But I just know the general scope of work.
backpedal.
Mm.
I choose to
I-
remain silent.
Okay, so why don't you tell us the key features?
Okay, the key features that the client wishes to renovate, obviously to bring back the porch, replace the siding, replace the windows. There are some, I understand that he wants to incorporate a stained glass and a window type E. That's window type that portion of this. Sorry, I was reading exactly what
Probably at back,
in the other side elevation.
yeah.
Window type E.
Well, would
Is
it-
that these antique stained, okay, one, like, antique stained glass windows set inside of the insulated fixed frame and exterior, so it's.
Right.
On the interior?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Actually, if that's the case, we probably shouldn't
Yeah.
even look at it.
Okay.
Good.
Is it an existing stained glass panel that's on the building somewhere else?
No.
I believe he.
Oh, it's a new thing
Yeah, he
incorporated?
acquired somewhere, yeah.
Not us.
Yes, and it's inside, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and, so these are the brackets, so this house is adjacent to our house. We're at
Yeah.
5 furnace and he's at 3 furnace. So instead of matching our column, he has picked out his styles that he liked. And he's also requesting window shutters because there are evidence that there were window shutters there before. So I think I'll let you comment on the application. There is also roof, like covered entry roof replacements, which are, there's one in the back. New guardrail also.
But the back porch wouldn't be visible from anywhere, would it?
I don't think so. So that roof is being replaced. I have to see.
Maybe
at
just a corner
very,
of it from
yeah,
furnace, but
or across the street. Yeah, so new balconies, renovating balcony. So new copper stainless steel roof on the back porch and on the side that's actually facing Romeo and Juliet. And this existing chimney, is either looking to repair
or if he doesn't need it, he would like to take it down.
Sorry, which side is the street side on this one?
Okay, so the street side is, I'm sorry, here, sorry.
Oh, okay.
The street side is this Romeo and Juliet, so on
Right.
this plan, Romeo and Juliet is here. So this is 3 furnace and our house is
Yeah,
here.
so, okay, so he wants to put standing seam on the roof of the front porch
On the front porch and the
and
side
the
porch.
cover over the basement.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The
And
back
then-
porch, I think it's just getting replaced and, the framing is getting replaced. Without me. But
We can take a little stroll over there at some point, but I would be really surprised if that back porch was visible anywhere. Because the driveway is so narrow and the building is so long and
Yeah,
it
so
sets
it's
back.
back.
So that may be.
there, so on the back porch, what he's asking to do is new balcony and railing on the back porch. And,
But he's gonna keep that siding?
I don't, that's not my understanding. I thought he was replacing the siding. Let's see.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
Are you on 201?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on the demolition, board. Sorry. Never mind.
And the railing in the front, we meant to draw it to match our height somehow. I think it might be a computer, like an automatic lock
Mhm.
that was thrown on there, so we apologize about that.
But what does code say about the height?
Because it's less than 30 inches, we don't even need it, so it's
Mhm.
really for aesthetic.
Oh, right. The shutters in the front?
Yes, what about them?
So if you already have a covered porch, why would you need it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little odd to have shutters underneath the porch.
It's very secure, but.
I mean, maybe they, you know,
Porch
steel shutters or
tornado
something.
season.
Tornado, yeah, it's tornado or it's hurricane.
The-
I think he likes the charm of the shutters.
Yeah, I think so is the brackets along the eave, are those brackets?
Yes.
No, on the second floor, sorry.
Second floor, yes, they're under the roof eaves.
Yeah, are those new or are those existing?
Those, great question.
Or are
I
they
don't think-
to
I don't think they're
replace-
existing. No.
The photos, yeah, let's. They are not existing.
They're not existing.
No
Okay.
details there. I know the client likes details, he likes to
Yeah.
add more details to the
So
property.
these brackets would,
Not be that.
are they,
Ours is much simpler.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess,
Yeah, okay.
it's okay.
He's really, yeah, okay.
Are you raising the height of the roof on the front porch to match the roof line on your home?
Right.
Yeah.
So what's that, like 9 inches or a foot?
About 9 inches, yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
is it changing the height of it or just changing the pitch of it?
I think he would like follow the line, so I think it's both.
Mm.
Okay, I see.
But it's going to be totally removed and rebuilt.
Yes, that's my understanding.
So that's all new material.
Yes.
Okay.
And so.
Well, the windows are all different colors anyway.
Yes, and so on the column, we would like to, it's not, I didn't see it drawn, but we would like to recommend a base, like what's there existing.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the bracket as that. I know James had a lot of fun rebuilding our bracket.
Mm.
And that was quite a pleasure. It had a little, very simple, but like a capital.
So your porch is accessed from the side, And his is accessed from the front.
Yes, actually, that's a very good
I don't
point.
think I ever noticed that.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a few that are like that. The actress on your street, what's her name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer Wright. Hers is accessed from the side too, isn't it?
Nope, front, right by the front door.
Hers is from the front.
Yeah, because I know the tourists sometimes would sit there and.
But I have seen them I've seen them someplace in the village access from the side on these semi-detached.
Yeah, it's kind of a
I
mix.
think. Yeah, no, it is kind of a mix.
I just,
You know, and they
never
changed
noticed
over
that
the years.
on one mass, it was in two different positions, but I wonder if there's something to do with the way the street's graded.
That too, yeah. And probably somebody wanted a driveway.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
I mean, I don't mind the asymmetry, I think it's just complementary.
Yeah, no, I think
I mean,
it's great.
is the driveway his or Romeo and Juliet's?
The site plan.
Because most of these,
No, I think it's his.
I think it's his, because I don't know why they have their fence there.
Yeah, look at the front page. Now look at the front page of the, well, actually, maybe a little bit of it is his, but not all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's like 6'5" in the front,
Yeah.
so, I mean, or 6'3", which is like, you know, you're
yeah,
scraping your car through
it's,
there.
it's not really his property.
It's interesting, their old survey shows the steps there.
Yeah. I don't know how accurate that is to where their fence is, because if you look at the image, I mean, it's clearly wide enough to put a car in there. Isn't it? I feel like I've seen a car.
I know, but I mean, if it's not his driveway, basically he'd have to have an easement with,
Yeah, you'd have to have an easement. Maybe there is an easement, you never
Maybe.
know, because you just see the.
I mean, if
you don't
looking at
necessarily see
at this survey, it looks like there was a fence right down the middle, which you don't see in the photograph.
Yeah, I think they moved that fence over.
And it says a stockade fence.
The fence that the Romeo and Juliet sign is on, I think is moved over. So it comes off the side of the building diagonally in a straight line.
Okay. I guess,
Giving them buffer space.
Those are really fancy brackets.
Yeah, can we talk about brackets?
On the porch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the brackets on the porch.
I'll
I mean, I
take-
like them, but they're fancy.
Well, it's, you know, the thing is it's, you know, former worker housing, and they wouldn't have been able to. Julie, are the brackets that you, so were you saying that you,
We recreated what was there.
recreated that, so that was, one of those was original?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I-
And we took the profile and
Mhm.
traced it, yeah.
I'm thinking of a couple other houses in town that have a similar bracket.
Yeah, because this is like really fancy for a worker house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Putting on the dog.
I don't know if the guy who worked in the foundry could afford that bracket.
I think that
Unless
it's
you make
kind
it
of
yourself.
a few pieces too many. The shutters, the porch brackets, and the roof brackets.
Yeah, it's getting precious.
It's getting a little, you know, it's becoming this sort of miniature Italian
all right.
cake. I was gonna go with
I think that there are, the worker housing was relatively simple, straightforward, because that's all, I mean, the company built it, so they certainly did not spend a lot of money
Mhm.
for the housing. I think that the things that he's showing to me, on the one hand, that column, he wants to retain what they have right now.
That's my understanding.
Okay. And I'm trying to think back of what these houses looked like before, you had changed your front porch. The question that I would have is that either it should be more plain, or it should sort of follow along with what you guys think. But it looks like he's trying to do both. I have to agree that, the shutters, even if they are in fact, if there are hinges there, it seems like at least what is drawn is pretty straightforward, but yet you have all of these brackets and everything else. And so, while the shutters themselves would be more appropriate to a simpler configuration, in this particular instance, they're inconsistent. So either he goes fancy or he goes plain, but it doesn't make sense to do both. For example, why did he pick just this sort of board as opposed to a panel shutter?
I'm not sure, I wasn't that, yeah, I'll just remember that.
So, I think, I think, there's this question of, I remember when you guys presented, what you were doing, if I remember correctly, there was some sentiment, well, it's getting a little bit too fancy for worker housing. But, the aesthetic was nice, and so it's fine.
And we didn't add any adornment, we were just replacing what was there.
Yeah, well, the columns, was that the original configuration?
Yes.
Okay, because this looks like, 6x6 posts that they stuck in because the other ones were out of the way.
Now you have 3 posts and this is 4.
I believe so, yes.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if you're entering from the front, you have a
Yeah.
post on either side of them.
That's probably.
Yeah, but if you take a look at the survey, it shows an entrance off from the side.
And
Yeah, I think that it was probably reconfigured, the porch was probably reconfigured to approach from the front. I get, probably for that exact reason, to get access to the driveway.
Yeah.
So you
Which
can have
would
that
make
little
sense.
overhang.
Yeah, but just those 6x6 posts are kind of, it's like really, really fancy bracket and then really, really plain post,
Right.
which
This-
is kind of,
Well, but it's described as being. So you're saying that the intention is for the base and the capital of the column to match what you have next door?
yes, the base somehow didn't get drawn on there. I
Yeah,
think,
it's just not drawn.
Yeah.
So it will be this, are they just chamfered or are they actually round, yours?
Ours is, chamfered,
Just the sides, and then on
Yes.
a base, yeah. So the columns are going to be more ornate.
it's similar to the ones that you've got next door.
Yeah, as
Okay.
on 201, it specifies that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that a good way of, I'm not opposed to the shutters, I'm not opposed to the brackets and columns, and I'm not opposed to the roof brackets, but I think doing them all together is kind of doing a disservice to each of them in its own way. And I think it's a little bit hard to conceptualize because, right now the existing building, because of the way that the siding is on it and everything, and it's the roof is wonky and so much stuff needs to be cleaned up.
right.
It might be a
visual,
little bit
like-
hard to appreciate how nice it will be once it's all clean and
Yes,
simple,
exactly,
you know?
yes.
So I can see why there is a inclination on behalf of the client to want to feel like the property is adorned. But that being said, I mean, what makes it really a great, interesting piece of architecture is kind of how simple it is intended to be. I would just love to see it all kind of pulled back a little bit more, and just to be a little bit simpler. I'm actually, to be honest, the upper shutters, I'm not mad for the hard cutout, but the
Yeah, the
slatted
hard
upper
cutout.
shutters don't even really strike me as being that strange, and they are sort of quaint and.
It kind of gives the windows a little heft and
Well, the
anchors them
slanted-
to the building.
I don't have an objection to the slanted shutters per se. Yeah, the hard cutout is too,
It's too whimsical.
it's too Pennsylvania Dutch. or
But I
something,
think that-
you know, but the first floor shutters underneath the porch just don't make any sense.
Right, and I also think that the second floor shutters with these brackets, these brackets right above them in the eave, I just think it's too much, and it's not. And again, it's doing a disservice to the form of the shutters, and also you're adding brackets that aren't, they aren't necessary, and they aren't.
So
Do we know-
do we have any, do you have any photographs of what the building looked like in earlier times?
Earlier times, that I don't know. Okay, so here's Jason. Provide more explanation. Now it's gonna get longer.
On A202,
Hi.
Yes.
on
Hi,
A202,
how are you?
you show brackets on
On the
the
side.
main body of the house, on that side there.
Yes.
Now, are those going to be the same brackets as the one you're showing on the front?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, so I mean brackets on the front and on the side? I mean,
Do we have these brackets in profile? Do we know what they look
They
like?
are.
yeah, they're on the front sheet over here.
I just do want to look at
T101.
another set.
Right.
Sorry, T101, yeah.
Oh, I see, okay.
And is that the same one on the side as on the front?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
What do we need that?
Oh, see, I was misinterpreting this. I thought these were two options for the porch brackets, but the smaller one is the rear bracket. I see.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing 4/4s all over, not 2/2s?
4/4. Yes.
Double.
The question I had was, do we have photographs of what the building looked like
In old days.
No.
in the olden times?
I believe I submitted with the application that the only photo that was on record at the historical society is the same photo that I submitted when we did our app. So that's
This one.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's about that good.
Yeah, they're all like that. Yeah.
I gotta inquire with my secret source.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
it's like we could get like a street view, like, there's gotta be something.
Yeah, I mean,
Street view.
we tried several times to get
It's hard,
images,
yeah.
and there's nothing. We've come up with some miracle photographs, but
Yeah.
not here.
Huh.
I mean, this photograph looks like it was, 1975. See the 6x6 column there.
I can see why it would be difficult to get a streetscape for a street, because it's a very narrow, it's one of the narrowest streets in the village, so you wouldn't even necessarily capture a lot of it if you were looking down Main Street.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is if that building, that old Harrison Har building,
Yeah.
for some reason was significant, that they would have taken a
Yeah.
shot of that facade.
Yeah.
And
but-
gotten a little,
Yeah.
This is something that I've tried to get some interest from the historical society, whatever the museum is called, to actually do like a culling of photographs in the
Mhm.
community. It's like
Mhm.
do like a photo drive, right? And
Mhm.
like, please bring out your family photographs and like
Mhm.
help us preserve the history of the community. It's amazing what you'll find out there. I've actually got a copy of, I don't know what the number of it is, Willie Critelli's old house. With Willie Critelli out in front as a young man, sitting on the fenders of Jimmy Grevich, who used to live in our house. And lo and behold, there's the porch of the yellow house, the house that Willie lived in. With the old spindles out in front. And I mean, like, there's not a lot of information there,
Mhm.
but there's information there, you know. And it's just amazing what you can find by just asking.
Yeah, I mean, even like family photos from before
Exactly.
vinyl siding could
Right.
have so
Right.
much information.
Yeah.
My next door neighbors, they actually have pictures of their house, so, on Haldane, you know, there's a brick, ranch.
Mhm.
The only house on Haldane Street.
Right.
The woman who lived there into her elderly years had grown up in a house, the yellow house. And she had given my neighbors some pictures of, you know, same, which is what you were describing, family gatherings. This is what the house like. It basically hasn't changed a bit.
Right.
It was really amazing.
Yeah.
Same flowers too.
But like in the case of Willie Critelli's old house, you know, like now it's an enclosed porch, right? So
Mhm.
here's, you know, like, that's a, you know, really great information to peel back, yeah.
Yep.
So,
So the conversation that took, before just walked in is that, some parts are way too plain, like the column.
Yeah.
And some parts are too ornate. They're not opposed to the shutters in the, under the porch seem,
Superfluous.
superfluous.
yeah.
And some, the ornate components are competing with each other.
Yes. And I apologize for me showing here late, you know, it's almost 11 o'clock.
We're here late anyway.
Yeah. During the party, but I was at a meeting up in Kingston, I just came from work. So, and I'm, you know, Judy's jumping in.
I have to go because I'm worried about the kids.
Okay.
And do that.
That's fair.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I hope, you know, I hope Judy's able to answer questions.
Some.
Yeah, some, but let me know. I mean, like, so our clients purchased the building. Obviously, we're very glad to see it changing. He definitely has a kind of, as far as English term, twee kind of approach to.
Pardon.
Pardon
I'm
my
sorry,
English.
sometimes when I laugh, I snort.
So, I mean, you know, my recommendation is to keep it simple when you don't have the information, you know, like you err on the side of simple. So, but there, I don't know if Judy had noted to you, there are hinges, you know, the pins for hinges on the porch windows.
believe it.
Yeah. I haven't found them elsewhere, but.
I just wonder, like, did they? I don't know. It's strange. It doesn't seem to serve a purpose
Other
to
than
have a
privacy?
shutter
Yeah.
under a porch roof.
Yeah,
The
except
only
it's
other-
right there on the street, so privacy.
Right.
But
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's also something that I've learned about these houses because they're all built the same. They had tiny little stoops originally, and so
That's what I was going to ask. As I said, you know, did they make the front
Right.
porch bigger at some point? Because that would make the shutters make sense.
So number 4, I think, furnace, the single one, which was a twin. The twin was
Mhm.
taken out to build the parking lot there. That one has the closest concoction of the original stoop as far as we can tell. So it's got the steps coming down.
Yep.
When I rebuilt my porch, I removed the stone steps. It's actually the front landing of our studio, the granite chunks there. So you know, these stoops were very small, and so probably the original windows didn't. You
That
know.
makes sense.
And the doors and windows were different. I
Mhm.
think they only had a single window in the front and the door. There was the corner bracing was chopped out on my house and also on the twin apparently, so that they could shift the door and cram it over. Because when I got down to the framing, you can see that much information.
That's interesting.
I mean, of course, if he is interested in privacy for their shutters, I mean, you can always have shutters on the inside,
Right.
blinds.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, if you were to explain this, not like you haven't already been here with your client, but, you know, it's, you have a really distinctive neighborhood where that is truly a cluster of working houses, or worker housing, and a lot of the details, there's a lot of detail that he's proposing, it's incongruent with the rest of the neighborhood, just the scale of the neighborhood. I mean, those brackets are for a larger scale structure.
I mean, they exist on my porch, but my porch was built, originally in 1887.
Yeah.
1880, something like that.
Yeah.
So like those are direct reproductions, literally
Yeah.
just from the original.
Yeah, Judy told us that we did a reproduction.
So, yeah, so, but there's
I don't know if you can put the brackets in above the windows the way he's asking for, because the windows are higher than what is drawn.
Oh, yeah.
right.
You could still put them on the side. I mean, you wouldn't have them on both, even in Italianate, you wouldn't have them both on the front and on the side. You'd have them on one or the other.
Well, if you don't have them up front, then why put them on the side?
When I think of the front,
I'm sure you,
Huh?
sure you would see that all the time.
See poor design on that, too.
Yeah, but you see poor design in the 1850s too.
That's right. Just sort of curious as far as is there any local precedent for the guardrail?
To have one at all, or
It's what?
to have one at all, or the already.
No, I mean, is there any, you've got a bunch of houses in the area, that any of them have guardrail like this?
Well, mine has an opaque one.
Well, yeah, you have the panels.
And,
I'm just sort of curious as to, why this particular shape.
yeah, the shapeless spindles. That's
So you just sort of, so this is where you're in your guardrail.
right. So I mean, Neil Block's house, I think, is square spindles. I think he's number 6.
I was saying right before you came in that I think in its current state, I think particularly because of the siding and because of the condition of the porch, it is really hard to appreciate the simplicity of the structure. And it looks like something that does need to be improved upon and like gussied up, so to speak. But I'm inclined to think that once all of that is removed and once your siding is consistent and uniform,
Right.
there's so many great opportunities for really crisp lines on this
Crisp
building.
and detailed.
And I don't know what process you've been through so far with the client as far as looking at those different elements, but I think that I'm just picturing this building complete and and done and a bit more minimal and just
Right.
recognizing how great it'll look. It's it's the first house you see on the block. It's got a really great positioning to it. So my feedback is that I think that the elements of all the decorative elements are just really competing with each other, and there's an opportunity to incorporate some of them, but I don't know if it's necessary to incorporate all of them. I think the shutters on the second story are good. I'm not as enthusiastic about the heart motif cut out of them, but I like the linear structure of them. I think that on the first floor, whether there's precedent or not, they conflict a little bit with the porch ceiling, and also they conflict with the porch brackets. So whether that means going to a more minimal bracket or keeping an ornate bracket and just removing the shutters, I don't want and I know that you and your client don't want the building to feel too cluttered, because it's just gonna make the whole thing look smaller.
Right.
And it already is a tiny building.
Right.
So the more sort of you can accentuate the linear elements of it, I think the more it's gonna kind of seem more robust than it really is. I mean, that's my initial feedback. As far as the larger elements to it, I don't really have an issue with it. One thing that we noted is that the plan for this stained glass window
Mhm.
applied on the inside of the window, we have no say over, so that's something that you don't need to worry about
It's like looking at the curtains.
pursuing further with us. This back porch, I think that you may even be a little more generous in your elevation here of showing how much is visible from the street. I don't even know if that much of it would actually be as visible, so just.
I think it's just about that much. If
Yeah.
you're standing, if you're not standing in the driveway of this property, but if you're standing at Romeo and Juliet, you'd probably
Right.
see just about that much.
Right.
You'd
Over
see
this
such a-
little thing here.
You'd see such a teeny little slice.
So I think in that, to that point, you know, we would just want whatever, I would just want whatever sort of guardrail configuration this ends up being, just to be reflected in the back. Obviously your heights objects change because this is a true railing. Yeah, I just think that I don't really see I think that the brackets, the roof brackets on the front,
I don't think you've got room for them up there, actually.
and again, I think it's just gonna kind
Well-
of make everything seem a little too, everything is gonna be kind of encroaching on everything else, you know?
Right.
And as drawn, where's the plan? You know, as drawn, if you look at it and you really focus on all of like kind of the negative space or the potential negative space, you know, you have like this strong line here, you're gonna have the strong roof line. Obviously all of your siding is gonna be going horizontally. You just have an opportunity for a lot of really great,
Right.
bold,
Crisp
lines, you know? I actually think even you know, simplifying this to a squarer or more square guardrail could even lead to keeping these columns
Yeah. I think it would
square.
elongate the-
I think your columns work as presented as part of a whole, you know, and I realize that this is a computer error to showing them this way, but
What's that? So I understand.
just Juhu was saying that the columns themselves would match your columns as far as having the
Chamfer.
chamfered edge.
I believe
In the block.
the intent is that they're square.
Oh, is that they will be
Yeah,
square?
it's
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would just be great if it would just peel back a little bit.
Yeah, no,
I don't know. I mean, I know you've probably been looking at these much longer than we have, so I don't want to negate the process that I'm sure, and the discussions that you've had.
Well,
And then there are
yeah.
clients.
there.
Well, that's what I mean. The discussions
Yeah.
that you've had with your client.
Yeah.
You know, I know that they probably have kind of something in mind. I'm trying to think of even other examples around the village to kind of point out as being
Other
more-
examples
of just more
Simple.
simplified
yeah. Anything on
porches
Kendall.
and things.
Carolyn,
Hmm.
comments?
I think I've made
James
my
is
comment.
looking for feedback.
Yeah, I think I've made my comments. I think that I'd scratch the shutters underneath the porch. I'd scratch the brackets on the front. And little heart shapes. There's too much fancification here.
Mhm.
I'd like to just see a lot more simplification in general.
Andrea?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the front porch question. I'm thinking about Wendy and Jay Tarrant's old house on, right around the corner from the pizza shop. I would look at Garden Street and Kemble Ave, for example, because Kemble doesn't have front porches though.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, they really don't.
I actually think what's on Furnace Street is.
Yeah, that's
important,
really pretty much it.
actually.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a couple of like one-off, semi-detached worker houses just here, there, and everywhere
Yeah.
in the village. You know, when I did my
Yeah,
my
that's why I was
map,
thinking of
I
that
found
map.
My,
Mhm.
my weird, I did a
Right.
That's why I was
map of,
thinking
you know,
Garden Street had a
decades.
few.
Right, there are a couple
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. Or like even on Stone Street. too.
Yeah, Stone
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah, down, there's one on the lower part of Paulding.
Mhm.
You should share your map with James.
My terribly amateurish map. of the
No, it's a
city.
good map, because I was remembering it when he asked that question.
It's like first year work.
No.
But
It's a good sketch up of the village.
I think it's just and you know, you probably are aware of this, but this is the original form of these houses, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just like it was so simple, so dead simple.
Yeah.
And then they kept on adding additions. and,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, so
hodgepodge editions,
Mhm.
usually.
and there's like a simple like kind of you know, federal style to the original of it that I think gets watered down.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can summarize all of the comments that I've heard. Basically, we feel that there's a lot of ornamentation which seems to be unnecessary.
Mhm.
I'm not totally sure if you can even fit the brackets in there, because you gotta put in a trim board.
Right.
uh,
Yeah, basically to do that.
Whether or not, it'll even fit. Yeah, there is some question concerning whether or not there are some people who are willing to accept the shutters up on top, but I think everybody's pretty much agreement that shutters down below do not seem to be necessary. I think that the front facade and this facade are probably the ones that need the most attention, because those are the most visible. So, with the porch itself, it seems to have stuck with the relatively simple square columns, and then added some awfully extreme brackets to the side. And then the guardrail seems to be totally unrelated to anything that's going on. It's a whole element unto itself. So the question really is that there doesn't seem to be a consistency in approach as far as what they're trying to accomplish.
I was about to ask you if you're moving the front steps over to the doorway, but I can see that you did.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And I guess on the side, we already talked about the brackets. If you're not gonna do them on the front, you shouldn't do them on the side.
Mhm.
So,
No, I disagree with you.
All right, did I miss anything? And so he's trying to follow suit in the back as far as the back porches? In other words, the square 6x6 columns?
Yeah, I think so.
Are we even able to see the back from the public right away?
It's almost invisible. I mean,
Yeah.
you see a little teensy slice of it.
All right. Well, it seems like, the back is one thing, and then all of a sudden, new simulated windows by Yarrow, what does that mean?
It's in the front.
An error that my employee had made. It's, I mean, the simulated double hung in the front, but she carried that over. It's hard to read people.
I think, as you said, it can be a relatively simple, straightforward, structure, and it seems like, and I hate to use it because it's a little extreme, but, putting lipstick on the pig, put it along that line. Just too much ornamentation for a building that.
You know what it reminds me of? That building on the corner of Oak and Chestnut, the yellow one, with all the gym rack added. You know which one I'm talking about? Right across from Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Love that house.
it's cutesy, but you know, it's like they took every single type of trim that Home Depot makes, and they stuck it on.
Was that added on?
I think
Except, no, that looks like I have never looked at it very closely. I always assumed that was original.
I've never assumed that it was original. I always thought it had way too much stuff on it.
That's the one directly opposite of
Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah.
Wall Street, right?
Little,
You
well,
like
no,
those?
not opposite Wall Street, no.
That's
It's right across
the one-
from,
It's right across from the gas station
right.
Okay.
on
Mhm.
Chestnut.
Yeah.
Okay, it's yellow, it's on the corner of, you know, M&T is here, Oak Street, and then
Mhm.
over the
Okay.
corner.
Right. And it's across the street from the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I don't know.
You
If
think
it's
that's
slapped on, then they certainly have painted it off and seen
Yeah, I
it.
don't think, I can't even think of what you're referring to on
The
that.
one- the one that's being very slowly worked on?
No, that's one block down.
Oh, okay.
This is the one that's like, not as distinct as this description is making it sound.
It hides, it's a little
It has like a
house,
fence-
it has
it has like a
dormers,
fence around
it's,
the whole
it's,
thing,
it's
right?
very
It's got-
low.
It's got a big fence around it and a lot of vegetation
A lot of
behind it, so you
vegetation.
don't, and it's a very small house, and it's got the wall dormers on the second
Yeah.
floor.
Mhm.
And I mean, the first time I saw that house in the 1970s, I thought it was fake.
It's that then again.
Well,
It's been 30 years.
I've never looked at it very closely, but, you know, from when I've noticed it, it seems like, paint encrusted. You know, about 30 coats of paint on everything.
Mm.
But anyways, so
Parts of
do you
it,
have
yes.
what you need from us as far
Yeah.
as?
So what we would like to ask is that, you know, I mean, we're gonna obviously work hard to address these as best we can, hopefully hit it out of the park for the next meeting. So, I mean, assuming that you're all satisfied, you think the next, meeting would be a public hearing?
No, because we
No,
have to
I don't
vote to
think
go
so.
to a public hearing.
Yeah,
Is this something that we would consider to be worthy of a public hearing?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Great, all right, great.
Because you're not putting on an addition, that addition's
Right.
already there, you're just
Mhm.
doing
Okay.
the cosmetics on the exterior.
Mhm.
Trying to throw
Um,
it back somewhat.
We're having workshop session on the 28th.
Mhm.
If you want to come back and show us a revision, the only thing is that we can't do it, you can't vote on it.
Mhm.
Essentially, we can take a look and give you our feedback,
Mhm.
but we'd have to, for the official application, it'd have to be in July.
Okay. Mhm.
Well, actually, we could do it on the 28th as long as we had a referral and made that a voting meeting that we advertised.
Mm.
28's pretty tight for us too, right?
Yeah, that is tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about timing in terms of advertising. I don't think we have enough.
We could yeah, we'd be fine for advertising.
Yeah?
Yeah, because that is only pertains to.
Well, I think
public-
James doesn't really wanna.
No, I know, I'm just saying,
And
but
that
that
only
only pertains to public hearings.
That's right.
It doesn't pertain to, we can declare something to be a voting meeting,
Yeah,
I think
just
within
have to publish it that way.
days or something,
Okay, that's right. that's right.
as long as we update it on the
Yeah, it's the
website.
public hearing.
But yeah, if you want to come back to look at the drawings, we can do that, on the 28th.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna be here and we
Mhm.
make good
We're
progress.
gonna be here anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get no place else to go.
Our evening's ruined already, so.
Well, I appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks for coming in.
Okay.
Come on, this back.
Okay, children, it's after 11 o'clock, and it's
Yes.
past the bedtime.
I was
Do we
gonna say,
have-
let's review minutes, but.
Oh, please.
I vote to approve.
Alright,
Good night.
Right,
Do you have minutes, do you want to hand out minutes for us to review?
I couldn't get the
or-
copier working, so.
Okay, email the minutes.
Oh, I've already emailed them to all of you, so if you wanna submit edits to me, I can do that, and then I can bring them back.
Let's do that. We're not gonna vote on them until at least you get.
Can we close the meeting so I can go home?
Would you like to make a motion to close?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to close the meeting.
Do I have a second?
CD out the door. I will second.
All in favor?